الصيد النافعة.
One such topic is the coming mini ice age. I've been talking about a future mini ice age since approximately 2008. That's 10 years. Now, I'm not a climatologist, but I have interviewed many scientists who reject the global warming hype from Al Gore. Instead, they say it's not global warming we should be concerned about, it's global cooling that's now in its early stage.
ما شاء الله تبارك الله. اليوم الجمعة 15/5/1441.
Is it possible that all this confrontation that we're seeing, that the real reason it's not that the U.S. is trying to rewrite trade laws and treaties and such, but are the nations starting to panic over what's happening to the atmosphere, to the temperatures, and we're going into survival mode?
Rick, I think that is the direction that this would go, especially if you're looking at the data. America is the food basket of the world. We saved the world during both World War I and World War II, not even just simply by our soldiers, but by feeding the world. If the data is correct, and even from the experts saying that the Farm Belt would either push south 200 miles or completely disappear, America can no longer supply food to the third world. And you look at
we can't supply food to ourselves.
Even to ourselves. We would have to then fight for resources in places where
who has the food? Who's going to have the food?
Those that are along that equator band around the world.
Let's put the map of the world up there, and let's look at the equator. All right, and there we go. The red line, obviously the equator. Did you see it's going through South America, going through northern Peru, Ecuador,
Brazil,
Colombia, Brazil, and then crossing over into Africa. Edward, what countries there are in Africa?
So the 13 countries that the equator goes through, you already mentioned the big ones. The big ones in South America are Ecuador, Colombia, and Brazil. They're actually the majority of African nations. We have Sao Tome, Principe, Gabon, Republic of the Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, Kenya, Somalia. These are all countries that will see a great increase, actually, if a stability of temperature, one for farming. There are also island nations that are affected. Indonesia is the biggest one of these island nations that we have to note here because it has a population comparative to the United States, but its landmass is severely reduced in comparison. But it's also a powerhouse that even China's been looking at for negotiation. There are obviously adjacent countries to these countries that have actually the equator running through them. Of those, a lot of the countries in the South China Sea The Philippines is a major country that would benefit from a shift in the temperature, and also because of its relation to the equator. I can't help but think if someone were looking at this equator map that you would base foreign policy off of this.
Right. Hey, let's put the map back up. I want to keep talking about it. Okay. So over the years, the scientists that I have talked to, and I've asked them privately, all right, off the air, and I've kept them on the phone and said, all right, talk to me. If we go into an ice age by 2020, all right, where on the planet will it be tolerable to live? And they've always told me 200, maybe 300 miles north and south of the equator, all the way around the planet. 200 to 300 miles north and south. Everything else going to be very cold. Obviously, the farther north and the farther south, because South America is going to freeze, Southern Africa is going to freeze, Australia is going to freeze. All right, do your history research about Australia and New Zealand in the last ice age. Severe. They had glaciers in New Zealand. Glaciers in New Zealand.
There's still remnants of them to this day.
Right. Do your homework. Okay. South America. Okay. Look, food comes out of Chile. Kiss it goodbye. Look at all the vegetables and fruits that we get here in America. You go to Costco, you go to Sam's, you go to Publix, and you get food, cherries from Chile, you know, and you get all these vegetables. Kiss it goodbye.
Argentina too. Argentina, major for meat.
Yes. Food's gone. Okay. But that band all the way around. But there's not a lot of land mass there.
Right.
There's not a lot of land to farm.
Really, if you look, the continent really that has land mass is Africa.
Yes.
Of that, Africa will become, at least for farming, the center of the world.
And which nation is making inroads in Africa right now?
China.
One other observation we were talking about in preparation for today's Godcast is keep that map up. Think of all the millions of people that have been in mass migrations here over the past decade. You know, people migrating from the Middle East, people migrating from Central America. Where are they going to?
North.
They're going north. They're going to Europe. They're going to North America. But what happens now, Rick, if we have a sudden shift in temperature, a global shift in temperatures, a massive drop, all of a sudden, we suddenly have millions of people, not just the current population, but the migrated peoples that have come into these areas who are now also trapped in those areas.
Yes.
Now, to me, that's almost as if someone was planning that in order to make that happen. That there's a reason for all this mass migration to the north, and it's not economic.
Are you suggesting that a global elite cabal has orchestrated mass migration away from the Middle East and Central and South America in order to empty those regions, to drive those people into the freezing north?
Intentional economic displacement.
Without having to do anything to people, without having to send a plague or anything else. The temperature itself would solve the issue of global population.
They'll freeze to death.
That's right. So if I was a globalist and I had a knowledge in advance that we have an impending weather cycle change coming up, and I knew that that was going to be happening 20 years out, 10 years out, I would do my best to make sure that I had access to the best real estate opportunities coming up in the world in the next 10 to 50 years.
Yes. I think from what Professor Zarkova is saying, this thing is going to hit faster, deeper than anything any of us expected. I've been saying for 10 years, based on the scientists I've talked to, we're going to see it. It's going to show its face in 2019, 2020, and then, or 2018, 2019, and then the winter of 1920 is going to be the one that's going to be really cold. And that's when the smart people who are observant, the people that aren't living in Facebook all day long, the people that are paying attention to their surroundings, those are the people who are going to go, something is odd, something's unusual, it doesn't feel right anymore, that something's different on the planet.
Right.
Those are the people who are going to take immediate action